The winter of 2030 was when Noah Quinn first set foot on the island. A vicious wind had been screaming since dawn, a relentless, shrieking gale that made the slate-gray sea heave and churn. It was no weather for a crossing, but Noah had no intention of breaking his word. He hadn't slept, rising at 5 from a restless bed. After a meager breakfast, he checked the map again. A single, isolated speck of land labeled Blackwood Isle. More than 50 miles off the coast of Port Meridian, a private domain long since faded from public memory. At 6, he locked up his small apartment, leaving a note on the counter detailing his destination, then abruptly tore it to pieces. Besides his crores, there was likely no one left who would file a missing persons report for him. He slung his guitar case over his shoulder and squeezed onto the first bus of the day. The murmur of the crowd and the rattle of the engine a dull hum as he mentally traced his route one last time. When he transferred to a long-distance coach, the driver eyed him with suspicion, questioning why anyone would venture to such a desolate pier in this storm. Noah offered a well-rehearsed lie about being hired for an ocean debris cleanup project. The driver just shook his head, muttering a not to attempt a private crossing, mentioning that the sea had already claimed several lives this year. After the bus dropped him off, he walked alone through a tract of bleak, windswept woodland. Startled birds burst from the trees, and dead leaves skittered across the path in the gale. If this was all a deception, he thought it was the perfect place to bury a body. Finally, through the thinning pines, he saw the white ferry moored by the sea. The man who greeted him on board introduced himself simply as Hank, his manner curt and dismissive. Inside the small cabin, another boy, about Noah's age, sat rigidly in a corner, his expression a cold mask of indifference. Noah felt no desire to speak either, clutching his guitar case tighter. Through the snow and spray, the ferry plowed toward Blackwood Isle. The violent rocking of the vessel overwhelmed Noah, and he was soon sick over the side. A dose of anti-nausea medication sent him into a heavy, dream-filled slumber. In the haze, his mind drifted to the man who had bought the entire island 2 years prior, a figure who had briefly appeared on a viral list of clandestine tech billionaires, Caleb Thorne. A grainy photograph had sparked a brief, intense public fascination before it was scrubbed from the internet, leaving only the legend of a mysterious magnate. Only now did Noah know the truth. Caleb Thorne was afflicted with a rare blood disorder. 3 months ago, Noah's own rare Rh-negative blood type had led him to a private donation program. Last week, an email had arrived with an offer of substantial payment for monthly visits to the island, a 6-month commitment. He desperately needed the money, so he had agreed. He was to become, for all intents and purposes, a human blood bag for Caleb Thorne 6 times over. For someone who had grown up in a coastal city, Noah had only been to sea twice. His childhood was a blur of schoolwork and music practice, and his family's modest finances rarely allowed for trips to the tourist islands nearby. One of those 2 voyages had ended in disaster when their small sailboat capsized. He remembered the chaos, the cold shock of the water, and the relief of the life vest. After they were rescued, he learned a passenger had drowned. The body, covered by a white sheet, lay on the deck not far from where he stood. His mother had held him so tightly, but he'd peeked through his fingers, a sliver of vision taking in the still form. He never went out on the water again and never realized he was prone to seasickness. Despite the storm, the ferry was remarkably steady. When a hand shook him from his semi-conscious state, Noah was convinced he was dying, picturing his own bloated body being hauled onto a Coast Guard cutter. The cabin door swung open, letting in a blast of frigid air. The cabin was empty save for him. He pulled his collar tight and peered through the porthole. The sky remained a uniform, oppressive gray. The wind seemed to be lessening, and thick snowflakes were falling into the dark water, vanishing on impact. Between the gray of the sky and the deep blue of the sea, an island emerged. He could see cold waves crashing against its rocky shores and, further inland, the undulating silhouette of hills cloaked in dense forest. They had arrived. Hank appeared at the doorway and announced that they were preparing to disembark, adding that someone from the island was there to meet him. Noah gave a weak affirmative. Dressed and with his luggage in hand, he stepped onto the deck, his breath pluming in the cold. The pier wasn't far. A pickup truck and a sleek black sedan were waiting, surrounded by a few figures who were little more than dark specks against the snow. They were probably there to unload the supplies the ferry had brought. As the ferry slowly docked with a groan of heavy metal chains, Hank lowered the gangplank. A few gulls swooped low over the mast. It was then that everything went wrong. Just as Noah took his first step, someone slammed into his backpack from behind. His balance thrown, he reached out instinctively with his right hand to steady himself against the gunwale. A sharp, searing pain shot through his palm, and a cry escaped his lips. Blood welled up instantly, dripping onto the deck and forming a small, dark pool within seconds. Hank's voice was sharp, demanding to know what had just happened and what they were doing. A cold sweat broke out on Noah's brow, the pain too intense for him to speak. The boy who had bumped into him said nothing. It seemed accidental, a rush to get off the boat. But now he just stood there, staring at Noah's bleeding hand. His expression, and Hank's as he strode over, became profoundly strange. An unsettling silence hung in the air for a dozen heart-stopping seconds. Noah finally managed to speak through gritted teeth, tears of pain stinging his eyes, and asked Hank if there was anything to stop the bleeding. The question seemed to snap Hank out of his trance. His look of shock hardened into a frown, his tone accusatory as he asked how Noah could have been so careless. Noah explained honestly that he had been pushed. The other boy remained silent, offering no explanation, no apology. Hank told him to get off the boat, that a doctor on the island could handle it. He then added with heavy emphasis that Noah should remember never to bring an open wound to the island again. The coldness of these people, even for strangers, was staggering. As Noah stepped onto the pier, a hand steadied him, a small gesture that made him think there might be some humanity here after all. But he had only walked a few yards when a commotion erupted behind him. He turned to see Hank punch the other boy, who collapsed, curling into a ball. Two men then dragged the boy up and shoved him violently into the back of the pickup truck. The door slammed shut with a metallic clang. The boy's eyes met Noah's for a fleeting, desperate moment. Noah's stomach dropped. Someone called out to him, asking if he was Noah. The snow seemed to fall earlier here on Blackwood Isle. A thin white blanket covered the ground and the branches of the trees. The road was a muddy track. A gleaming black car was parked beside it, and in front of it stood an elderly man with silvering temples. He beckoned to Noah with a gentle wave, telling him to come over. Noah moved stiffly, the truck and the car. It was obvious he and the other boy were to receive vastly different treatment. Towering fir trees, dusted with snow, lined both sides of the winding road as it disappeared into the deep, mysterious forest. It was a stark reminder that this was private territory, a place where anything could happen. When Noah reached him, the old man simply took his right hand and examined the wound. He remarked that it was nothing to worry about and that they would have the doctor look at it back at the house. He was the island's steward, he said, and introduced himself as Connors. In the car, Connors used his own handkerchief to loosely bandage the cut. The pain was a distant throb. Noah's mind was racing with the realization of how naive he'd been to come to such a place alone. In a society governed by law, handcuffs weren't used casually. As the other boy had struggled, the blanket covering him had slipped, revealing the cold glint of metal on his wrists. It was the first time Noah had ever seen real handcuffs. They were definitely illegal. During the 4-hour boat ride, Hank had been absent from the cabin for half the time. If the boy was being held against his will, he'd had plenty of opportunities to ask Noah for help, but he hadn't. Noah considered two possibilities. The first was that the boy was mute, which he admitted was unlikely but still possible. Otherwise his rudeness made no sense. The second was that asking Noah for help would have been useless because in some fundamental way, they were the same. A knot of anxiety tightened in his chest. He thought that if he chose to go back now, it might not be too late. A weathered, elderly voice broke the silence, observing that Noah seemed to be an introverted child. Noah, startled, turned. They had been driving through the forest for over 20 minutes. Halfway through the drive, he had noticed the pickup truck veer off onto a side road and vanish from sight. Connors met his gaze and asked gently if he was finding his first visit to the island unsettling. Noah mumbled an affirmative. Connors then asked if he didn't find the island beautiful. It was beautiful in a way. They had emerged from the forest and were now crossing a low hill. The landscape was a tapestry of gray-green moss and sparse grasslands covered in a thin layer of snow. It wasn't a conventional beauty, but a raw, untamed, primordial splendor. Connors explained that the island was vast, and Mr. Thorne's residence was at the northernmost tip, so they still had a way to go. He added that it had been a while since any newcomers had arrived, so Noah might attract some attention, but he shouldn't be nervous as no one would bother him. Noah's beanie was pulled low, and his face was pale, perhaps from the sea journey, making his dark eyes seem even larger. He asked if the blood donation was scheduled for today. Connors assured him there was no rush. He said he had arranged for lunch, and one couldn't give blood immediately after eating. Besides, with Noah's injury, the donation could wait until tomorrow. Noah, his eyelids heavy, insisted he wasn't hungry and didn't need to rest. Connors smiled faintly, reminding him that he wouldn't be able to leave until Monday anyway, so he might as well rest and recuperate properly. The agreement had stated as much, leaving Noah with no argument. Then Connors said something unexpected. He told the boy he was sorry for the hardship. Noah looked up, his eyes filled with a wariness he was too young to fully conceal. Connors explained that Mr. Thorne's condition was unique, and donors' daily lives, even minor changes, could affect the suitability of their blood. A doctor needed to sample and confirm its viability each time, which was why it was necessary to inconvenience him with these trips to the island. He asked kindly if the sea journey had been rough in this weather. His considerate words left Noah slightly disoriented, reminding him of his late grandfather. He felt his fear begin to subside. Connors patted his uninjured hand, thanking him for coming to Blackwood Isle. They finally stopped at the foot of a hill, beside an enormous white building. It was sprawling, and Noah couldn't guess its size or architectural style, only that it was old. The exterior was weathered, with paint peeling in places, giving it a dilapidated air that seemed at odds with the owner's immense wealth. A circular stone fountain stood before it, now dormant and dusted with snow. He followed Connors across a withered lawn and up a long wooden walkway into the building's interior. A servant appeared to take their coats, but Noah declined, standing in the entryway and looking in. It was dark. That was his first impression. It was an overcast day, but the inside of the house was gloomier than the outdoors. A fire crackled in a large hearth in the center of the main hall, making the room warm, a world away from the icy landscape outside. But all the curtains were drawn, blocking not only the wind but every last sliver of light. The entrance was a long corridor lit by the orange glow of wall sconces, which, along with a dim chandelier, provided the only illumination. If he hadn't just come in from outside, Noah would have thought it was the middle of the night. He wondered if such an environment was really suitable for someone who was ill. People moved about with hushed footsteps. Someone approached and spoke quietly to Connors, who then turned to Noah and said he would show him to his room. A doctor would be by shortly, and food would be brought up. Dinner would be in the dining hall. Noah agreed, relieved to escape the oppressive atmosphere. Just as Connors had warned, he could feel numerous eyes on him, a sensation that made his skin crawl. It must have been a very long time since the island had seen a new face. Connors led the way. They crossed the dim hall, ascended an equally dim staircase to the second floor, passed through several function rooms and another long corridor before finally arriving at Noah's room. Noah had already lost all sense of direction. The place was a labyrinth. As he opened the door, Connors pointed to a small bell on the wall, explaining that if Noah got lost while exploring, he could ring it for assistance. He was free to wander the first and second floors, but the third floor was Mr. Thorne's private area, and he preferred not to be disturbed. The room was fully equipped, including a private bathroom. It was a setup that would allow him to stay secluded for the entire weekend if he chose. Someone followed them in with his luggage. As they set down the guitar case, Noah couldn't help but ask them to be gentle. They complied. He murmured his thanks. Before leaving, Connors elegantly reminded him that the house had everything he could need, and Mr. Thorne was very generous, so he needn't bring so much luggage next time. Noah didn't understand what everything meant, but he couldn't resist calling out to the older man, addressing him as Mr. Connors and asking if the boy who came with him was also staying here. Connors' expression didn't change, but his reply was friendly as he stated that the boy was not staying in the house. Noah pressed on, asking what the boy was here for and if he had done something wrong. Connors simply smiled and backed out of the room, leaving the unasked question unanswered. Noah was alone. The carpet was plush, and the white bedding looked just as soft. A small vase on the nightstand held a bouquet of fresh yellow flowers, a welcoming touch. He took off his coat and boots, removed his beanie, and walked to the window. It was strange. Even the guest room curtains were drawn tight. He pulled back the heavy, floor-to-ceiling drapes and looked out through the clean glass. He saw a pale blue lake behind the house, with a small boat floating on its surface. Beyond the lake stretched a ridge of mountains. After standing in the quiet solitude for a moment, he took out his phone. An exclamation mark hovered over the signal bars. He was officially cut off from the outside world. He did not see Caleb Thorne that day. With no internet, he spent the afternoon playing an offline matching game on his phone. The melody of a song he'd heard on the bus had stuck with him. He hadn't touched his guitar in a long time and had hoped to use these 2 work-free days on the island to practice it. But his injured hand made that impossible for now. The food on Blackwood Isle, however, was exceptionally good, and the doctor who treated his wound was as kind and gentle as Connors. Still, Noah felt a pang of embarrassment when the doctor rolled up his sleeve to draw blood for the predonation screening. He hadn't checked his appearance before leaving and hadn't noticed the pilling on the cuffs of his sweater. It was hand-knitted, warm, and he'd worn it for years. His recent struggles had made him oblivious to such details, and now he was acutely aware of how shabby it looked. Dr. Evan, a man with glasses, seemed not to notice the worn sweater. He commented on the tattoo on Noah's forearm, remarking that he didn't seem like the type to get one. On the smooth skin of his inner arm was a new tattoo, hidden all winter under long sleeves. Noah explained that it was Latin for moonlight on the mountain peak, and that the phrase contained his mother's name. It was to commemorate her. The doctor asked if it was a memorial. Noah confirmed that she had passed away last month. The doctor's voice was soft as he praised his devotion, then asked if it hurt as the needle slid into his vein. Red blood flowed through the thin tube into a vial. Noah wasn't sure if the question was about the tattoo or the blood draw, but he shook his head and replied that it didn't. The doctor only took a small sample. The island had its own medical lab. Noah knew it was common for the wealthy to have private physicians, and Caleb Thorne's situation was clearly different from the norm, requiring extra caution. He asked if Dr. Evan would be the one drawing his blood tomorrow. The doctor confirmed this, reminding him not to eat breakfast. He reassured Noah that they never took much, usually around 200 milliliters, and never more than 250. They would monitor his health and nutrition closely and stop immediately if any issues arose. The contract had mentioned all this. Noah nodded, then asked what illness Mr. Thorne had that required such frequent transfusions. He'd researched it and guessed something like thalassemia or leukemia, but the doctor only said that Mr. Thorne's condition was very special, very complex. Special. Connors had used the same word. They were unwilling to elaborate, so Noah didn't press further. After playing games all afternoon, his eyes were tired. That evening, just as he cleared his 30th consecutive level, a servant came to summon him to dinner. Noah asked hopefully if there was anywhere on the island with a better signal, wanting to contact a friend and download more games. But the servant told him there wasn't. His hopes dashed. He felt like a prisoner in the digital age, wondering how the island's inhabitants passed their long days. At night, the mansion was transformed. Bright lights blazed everywhere. All the curtains were now open, offering stunning views from every window. The fountain, gardens, and shrubbery outside were all artfully illuminated, creating a series of beautiful landscapes that showcased the luxury the house was meant to embody. The dining room was dazzling. A crystal chandelier cast a brilliant light over a long wooden table laden with exquisite food, fruit, and even champagne in tall flutes. The silent building came alive at night, shedding its daytime gloom to become another world entirely. It was as if the day on Blackwood Isle had only just begun. Connors was already waiting and pulled out a chair for Noah as he descended the stairs. Only 2 place settings were on the table, gleaming under the lights. Just then, a servant approached and whispered to Connors that the master had decided not to see guests tonight and that Connors should proceed as planned. Connors looked surprised and asked why. The servant explained that the master had been sleeping in the south wing but was disturbed by the noise in the afternoon. He hadn't slept well and had since returned to his main bedroom to rest. Connors glanced at Noah and calmly replied that he understood. Hearing this, Noah felt a delayed surge of nervousness. The master had to be Caleb Thorne. The 2 place settings were not for him and Connors, but for him and the master of the house. A wave of relief washed over him. He was glad the man wasn't coming. He had no desire to share a meal with a fragile, wealthy stranger. They would have had nothing to talk about. Connors turned to Noah and apologized, explaining that the master couldn't make it tonight but sent his welcome. Noah quickly replied that he didn't mind at all and that Mr. Thorne's rest was more important. People who were seriously ill often slept a lot. He understood perfectly. Connors gave a slight nod and withdrew. Noah slept poorly that night. The dinner, unlike lunch, had been entirely vegetarian. It looked plentiful and was delicious, but he didn't feel full. Sitting alone in the bright, elegant dining room, with its soft linens and expensive tableware, the silence felt profound, the opulence a hollow shell. It was like the beginning of a horror movie he'd seen as a child. He didn't know how long he'd been asleep when a loud bang jolted him awake. He sat bolt upright, his heart pounding, and fumbled for his phone. It was 1:30 a.m. 2 more bangs followed. This time he recognized the sound. Gunshots. He slammed the switch by his bed, but the power was out. The room was plunged into darkness. Faintly, he could hear dogs barking and people shouting. Using the light from his phone, he crept to the window. It was just as dark outside. He could only make out the white of the snow on the ground and the dark shapes of the mountains. Remembering Connor's instructions, he ran to the door and pressed the bell. But after several long moments, no one came. A blood-curdling scream echoed through the house. Noah's heart felt like it would burst from his chest. The agonizing cry of a man in pain reverberated through the halls. Forcing himself to stay calm, he cracked open his door. The corridor was pitch black and silent. The sound seemed to come from the other side of the mansion. He shut the door, closed his eyes to steady his ragged breathing, and made a decision. He grabbed his canvas bag, which he'd barely touched, slung his guitar over his shoulder, and quickly slipped out of the room. He encountered no one. The servants were gone, Connors was gone. All the unsettling things he'd noticed since arriving seemed to be culminating in this moment. Guided only by the beam of his phone and a vague memory of the layout, Noah stumbled through the dark corridors. After a long time, he finally made it downstairs. It took even longer, his breathing growing more frantic, to find a door leading outside. The frigid air seared his lungs and stung his face. The snow hadn't stopped, and the ground was a glaring white. A thick, Dark red stains seeped into the snow, looking like melted cherry slush. A flashlight beam caught him. A man shouted, "Over here." The barking grew closer. Noah froze for a few seconds, seeing the silhouette of a rifle against the light. His mind raced with terrifying possibilities: human trafficking, organ harvesting, a family feud. He turned and ran. The woods were close to the house. Once inside, it was even harder to see. He was lost on a strange island, stumbling and falling repeatedly. His guitar and bag became burdens, and he had to abandon them. He didn't know how far he'd run when he heard a sharp crack beneath his feet. "Don't move." A low voice spoke, very close. It seemed to come from right behind him. He froze instinctively, his face numb from the cold, his throat and nose burning with every gasping breath. "You're on thin ice over the lake. Another step and you'll go in." The voice was even closer now. It was a young man's voice, as cold and detached as the wind. Noah hadn't realized anyone was following him. In his panicked flight, he'd looked back several times and seen no one. How had this ghost of a person appeared behind him? The hair on his arms stood on end. He didn't dare move. The ice cracked again, a faint, spiderwebbing sound. Suddenly, an arm wrapped around his waist. He let out a startled cry. Before he could react, he was lifted and swung around. He landed back on solid, snowy ground, realizing the man had effortlessly moved him aside. The ice collapsed with a loud splash, leaving a dark hole in the frozen lake. His phone had fallen into the soft snow. As Noah staggered to his feet, the man was already several paces away, a dark silhouette against the white landscape. Noah was breathing heavily, trying to make out his features. The man was extremely tall, with long hair that made his gender ambiguous from a distance. Incredibly, in this freezing weather, he seemed to be wearing only a thin robe. Noah could see the pale skin of his neck and his bare ankles above the snow. "Sir," someone shouted from a distance. Lights flickered among the trees. "Sir." The man answered casually, "Over here." Noah retrieved his phone, its screen covered in snow. Before he could decide whether to run again, the group from the woods had reached them. The bare trees clawed at the night sky. Several flashlight beams swept past the man's profile. Noah stood frozen. Among the newcomers was Connors, who looked as surprised to see Noah as Noah was to see everyone seemingly unharmed. Connors shone his flashlight on him, asking how he had gotten so far out. Noah was still in a state of shock, unable to think or speak. The light was blinding, and he shielded his face. The young man gave a short, dismissive grunt in response to someone's question. The group was talking loudly now, discussing what they were hunting. By the time Connors had draped a coat taken from another man over Noah's shivering shoulders and started chattering at him, the tall man had already walked off with a few others. Connors didn't scold Noah for running off. He just asked soothingly if he'd been scared. Noah's voice was shaky as he asked what was happening. Connors patted his shoulder and told him they would talk back at the house. His mind was still reeling from the encounter in the snow. For a brief moment, a light had illuminated the man's face, a high-bridged nose and deep-set eyes so perfect they could have been drawn. Long lashes casting shadows over the glint of light in his dark pupils. He couldn't believe someone so beautiful could be real. That fleeting glimpse left him stunned. He guessed that man must be the legendary Caleb Thorne. Connors told Noah they had been tracking some deer. Back inside the house, the chandeliers had been lowered, and a maid was lighting the candles. The polished darkwood floors, glass windows, and ceramic fixtures reflected the warm, flickering light, creating a scene from another century. People were hurrying about, busy with their tasks. Connors was instructing someone to check the power generator. The island was self-sufficient, and power outages were rare. From their conversation, Noah gathered that the storm had brought down a tree, which had in turn snapped a power line. Someone had found his bag and guitar case in the woods and brought them to him. The bag was soaked, but the case was waterproof. Noah knelt to check his guitar. He looked up in surprise as Connors explained. He told him Blackwood had a large population of wildlife, mostly herbivores like deer and rabbits, and the estate also had its own livestock. But tonight wasn't a hunt. It was an accident. The high winds had not only downed the power line but also startled a few deer sheltering in the woods. Panicked, they had run toward the lights of the house, crashing through a window. They had to use rifles because one of them had injured someone. Injured someone? Noah thought of the blood in the snow and the terrible scream. A young kitchen hand had been gored in the side by an antler, Connors explained grimly. It was serious. He was losing a lot of blood. The old steward sighed, saying nothing like this had happened in years, and it seemed no one would get a good night's sleep. That explained why Noah hadn't seen anyone inside the house. Connors added that Noah was lucky the master had found him. Falling into the frozen lake could have been disastrous. Noah asked if that man was indeed Mr. Thorne. Connors confirmed it, saying he didn't think anyone could mistake him for someone else. Though he'd suspected it, Noah was still in disbelief. He had run out without a coat, wearing only his indoor slippers. His clothes and shoes were soaked through with melted snow, and he was shivering uncontrollably, his lips blue. But Caleb Thorne had been wearing even less. He remembered the man's exposed neck and ankles in the biting wind. A normal person would have been trembling violently. How could a sick man endure that? As Connors escorted him back to his room, he told Noah not to be afraid and that the power would be back by morning at the latest. At his door, he added a gentle, if there were any more disturbances, he should stay put. The island was huge with no other inhabitants. There was nowhere to run. If he got lost, they might never find him. Noah's face flushed. He didn't feel he'd done anything wrong, but he didn't know how to defend himself. Sometimes the right intentions led to the wrong actions. Connor's eyes crinkled at the corners. He remarked that Noah was very brave. He himself had been about Noah's age when he first came to the island, and he would never have dared to run out into a storm like that. Noah asked if he had come to the island when he was young. Connor's eyes softened with memory, saying it had been almost 50 years. He knew every brick of the house, every blade of grass on the island, better than anyone. With no electricity, there was no hot water. Noah stripped off his wet clothes, wiped himself down, and burrowed into the cold bed, shivering. He was wide awake. He thought about what Connors had said. Caleb Thorne had bought the island 2 years ago, but Connors had been here for 50 years. Had he been working here before the sale? The house's aged appearance suddenly made sense. It had been here long before its current master. After he warmed up, he tossed and turned, then pulled out his phone under the covers. He'd just cleared 3 levels of his matching game when there was a knock at the door. A servant brought him a pair of headphones, a gift from Mr. Thorne. Noah stood at the door, the red imprint of his pillow still on his cheek, and asked why Mr. Thorne would send him headphones. The servant, holding a candle, explained that the master thought if he was having trouble sleeping, some soft music might help. After closing the door, Noah stood in a daze for a minute before opening the box. The wireless headphones were new, the battery indicator glowing green. It seemed Caleb Thorne had a habit of giving gifts, but they barely knew each other. And why headphones in the middle of the night? The game screen was still lit up on his phone. An idea struck him. The servant had told Connors that Caleb hadn't come to dinner because he'd been disturbed while sleeping in the south wing. Noah's room was also in the south wing. Did that mean Caleb's room was directly above his? He paced the dark room, using his phone's flashlight to examine the structure. The walls were thick, soundproof. He looked for vents like in the movies, then stopped. He was being paranoid. Even if he had played his game all afternoon, the volume was only at half. There was no way someone could hear it through the floor. He climbed back into the soft bed, his mind replaying the image of those deep, dark eyes and the single point of light they held. He was awoken by a bright light. The lamp he had tried to turn on last night had finally responded. The power was back. He lay there for a moment, confirming that the night's events had not been a dream. A sharp sting in his heel drew his attention. A small splinter was embedded in the skin, probably from his flight through the woods. He hadn't even noticed it last night. As he worked it out, a single drop of blood welled up. Worried about staining the white sheets, he hopped over to the side table to wipe it with a tissue. He pulled back the curtains. In the distance, someone was pushing a wheelbarrow. The snow had stopped, leaving a thick blanket on the ground. The wheelbarrow left 2 long tracks in its wake. A deer's antler flopped over the side. Inside was a gory, indistinct mass of what looked like entrails. It was a bloody sight. Noah watched until the person and the wheelbarrow disappeared into the woods he had fled through last night. Connors arrived to inform him that he couldn't have breakfast today. It was time for his donation to Mr. Thorne. The doctor had told him as much yesterday. His blood sample must have passed the test. Connors added that he would need to take a shower, as the master was very sensitive to scents. Noah hadn't slept well for 2 nights, he was starving, and he felt dazed and weak. He instinctively sniffed himself. Did he smell? Connor's tone was gentle but firm. It wasn't a request. He said he would have someone collect his laundry. Noah sniffed his clothes again, then his arm, making sure he was clean. But he had been paid and he would cooperate. He took a shower. As he dressed, he remembered last night's vegetarian meal. The fasting, the bathing, it felt like some ancient ritual of purification, like a sacrifice. For the first time, he felt that the blood flowing through his veins was something extraordinary, something that could provide profound help to another. He didn't take long. Connors was waiting patiently outside his door. The lights were on in the corridors, and all the curtains were drawn again. By day, the house reverted to its nocturnal state. They went up to the 3rd floor, Caleb Thorne's private domain. It was less cluttered than the floors below, with a more open layout. There was a small sitting area and a single, large closed door. Connors explained that the doctor hadn't arrived yet, but the master wanted to speak with him first. Noah, his hair still damp, asked what he wanted to talk about. Connors simply told him to go in. The white double doors had old brass handles, worn smooth from use, reflecting a blurry image of Noah's face. They were cold to the touch. He pushed them open gently. A vast room opened up before him. It was as large as a hall, with no visible electronics or medical equipment. Soft carpets covered every inch of the floor. The furniture was sparse but of high quality. It looked lived in, with a natural, understated elegance. The room was very dim, lit only by a single chandelier. The master clearly disliked natural light. Just like the rest of the house, all the curtains were closed. The sound of the doors closing behind him made him jump. Connors had shut them in. A man's voice, the one he had heard last night, told him to have a seat. Noah jumped again. He had scanned the room and was sure it was empty. The voice had come from behind a honey-colored wooden screen. Not wanting to pry, he stood his ground and said hello to Mr. Thorne. His eyes fell on a single, dried reed in a tall vase in the corner. He heard Caleb ask for his name. He was surprised. He had assumed Caleb already knew who his donor was. He introduced himself as Noah Quinn, then added a thank you for the rescue last night. A long silence followed. In the quiet, Noah could hear his own shallow breathing. Caleb's voice was closer now. You run fast. Noah turned and saw him stepping out from behind the screen. He looked as if he had just woken up. He was even taller than Noah remembered. His long, smooth hair falling in a messy cascade over his shoulders. The belt of his robe was loosely tied. He exuded a languid grace. What shocked Noah was the color of his skin. It was paler than anyone he had ever seen, a stark, pathological whiteness. If last night Noah had thought Caleb's illness might not be so severe, now he was certain. The man was gravely ill. No healthy person had a complexion like that. Noah could see him more clearly now than he had last night. Caleb's eyes were a deep, mesmerizing black, but the slight upward tilt at the corners gave them a sharp, almost cruel edge that made them difficult to meet. Caleb walked to a low cabinet and took out a glass, stating that if Noah had changed his mind, he would arrange for his return. He told him not to force himself. At that moment, Noah's attention was inexplicably drawn to Caleb's hands. He opened a small refrigerator and poured a dark red liquid, like wine, into the glass. The contrast between his pale, long fingers and the crimson fluid was striking. Who drinks wine first thing in the morning? Before Noah could answer, Caleb turned, paused, and noted that he had showered. Noah, who couldn't smell the soap on himself, felt a strange embarrassment. He confirmed that he had. He needed the money too much. The dim light played on Caleb's chiseled features. He couldn't be more than 25 or 26, far younger than the world had believed. To have such wealth at such a young age, yet be so plagued by illness, even Noah felt a pang of pity for him. Caleb ended the topic casually, accepting that Noah wasn't leaving. He sank into a high-backed, black velvet armchair and looked up at Noah, his gaze softening slightly as he beckoned him closer. Noah took a few steps forward, thinking Caleb wanted him to sit. But as he approached, Caleb gestured for him to kneel by the armrest. Lower. Caleb then leaned over him, his face close, studying him. Those ink-black eyes were unfathomable. A trick of the light seemed to create a faint red ring around his pupils, giving them a dangerous gleam. A strand of dark hair fell from Caleb's head and brushed Noah's cheek. He couldn't help but blink. "Now answer me, Noah Quinn," Caleb said, his expression serious. "Are you of age?" Just then, Noah's phone buzzed to life. A text message notification. A social media alert. A news push. One moment, he was trapped in Caleb's intense gaze, feeling an overwhelming compulsion to be honest. The next, he was jolted by the sudden return of a signal. The part-time job he'd asked his friend about might have come through. The quiet of the room made the series of electronic chimes jarring. Caleb was still watching him. "Turn it off," he said. Noah, excited by the reconnection to the outside world, didn't understand. Caleb's tone was calm but absolute. "Turn off the phone. Then answer the question." Noah looked up at him. The man's pale, handsome face seemed to hold a hypnotic power. In that moment, he could see only him, hear only him, and obey only him. His heart, already racing, began to pound even faster. He felt a flush of heat rise to his face. He quickly switched off his phone, even as it displayed a notification he was desperate to read. "I am," he answered. "I'm 18. Caleb seemed to doubt him. Noah quickly added that he was 18 and 3 months to be precise, and that he was of legal age when he signed the contract. He'd been asked this question a lot lately. He figured Caleb had the same concerns. He did look young. The contract had all this information. Noah was now sure Caleb hadn't just forgotten his name. He'd probably never even read the agreement. With his answer confirmed, Caleb leaned back, his scrutiny lessening. He reminded Noah that the agreement he signed was not protected by law. 6 donations in 6 months, unconditional compliance, vague details about the first party. Noah knew it was a gray area. Caleb was pointing it out again. Noah admitted he knew. After crossing the dark, churning sea, he had no way back. Caleb's tone was leisurely as he remarked that for someone who knew the risks, he had thought Noah would be more timid. He then asked, with the same casual air, why an 18-year-old wasn't in school. It was late December, not yet winter break for most students. The question was so normal, so paternal, it felt out of place. Noah felt like a truant being questioned by a principal. He explained that he had taken a year off from college and would start next fall. Caleb merely hummed in response, not asking why. Apart from his age, the rest seemed not to concern him. He repeated next fall, a frown creasing his brow as if the answer sparked some thought. But he said nothing more, just tapped his fingers against his glass. He took a sip, the liquid staining his lips a vivid red, a stark contrast to his pale skin. After a moment, he looked at Noah again. "There is still some time until fall. I need you to guarantee that during this period, you will give yourself to me. His sharp eyes held no warmth. Noah felt a tremor inside him. What did he mean, give himself entirely? Did he just mean he couldn't back out of the donations? No betrayal, no running, and no fear. No one here will harm you. You can tell me anything you want, and I will provide it, Caleb said, each word deliberate. Next fall, you can go to your university and never have to come to Blackwood Isle again. The words felt heavy. Noah assumed this was about his escape attempt last night. Caleb needed him, and so he needed a solemn promise. But besides the payment he was owed, there was nothing he wanted. So when Caleb asked again if he could do it, Noah said yes. Caleb made him repeat it. In that charged atmosphere, Noah recited from memory, I will not betray, I will not run, and I will not be afraid. Caleb said no more, ending the conversation with a quiet, you may rise. A few minutes later, Dr. Evan arrived, looking surprised to see Noah already there. He apologized for his tardiness, explaining that the surgery on the injured worker had been complicated. Both his stomach and small intestine were damaged, and the island's supply of anesthetic was running low. Caleb asked about morphine. Dr. Evan replied that they had used it, but the dose was insufficient. As he spoke, he opened his medical kit, laying out the supplies for the blood draw. Noah, overhearing them, asked if they were talking about the worker from last night. Dr. Evan nodded. Noah told him he had seen the blood in the snow. Hearing how severe the injury was, he worried the man might not survive. Dr. Evan asked why he had run outside during the shooting. Noah was too embarrassed to answer. Caleb, who had been there, now lounged in his armchair. His long hair tucked behind his ears, saying nothing. Their private conversation seemed to have forged a silent pact. Caleb wouldn't bring it up. Noah changed the subject, asking why they didn't send the man to a hospital. Dr. Evan paused, and Caleb glanced over at Noah. Suddenly the center of attention, Noah regretted speaking. He had questioned the doctor's competence and meddled in affairs that weren't his. Dr. Evan just smiled and reassured him that they had it under control and the man would be fine. Noah felt foolish. As he sat down for the blood draw, the feeling persisted. The room was quiet again. A sterile needle pierced his skin. He felt Caleb's eyes on his arm. He looked over and met his gaze. The red in Caleb's pupils seemed more pronounced now. He wasn't sure if it was a trick of the light or colored contacts. Their eyes locked across the room. Noah's heart beat heavier. He thought about what was happening. The blood of two strangers about to merge, a transfer of life itself. He looked away, watching the warm, red liquid flow into the bag, slowly filling the clear pouch with vitality. The process took about 15 minutes. The whole time, Caleb watched him, his chin resting on his hand. Noah endured the intense scrutiny, his face growing hotter. He focused on the empty glass on the table. A faint, rust-colored residue clung to the inside. He thought it probably tasted sweet. Then his consciousness began to blur. He opened his eyes to a ceiling that looked like the one in his childhood bedroom. The room was filling with seawater. A cold, damp weight pressed down on him, a profound exhaustion. He felt dizzy, nauseous, 100 times worse than on the ferry. He was trembling, moaning softly. He saw the white ferry at the pier, and another version of himself standing on the deck, being swept into the sea by the wind. "All right," a voice said in his ear. "Hold the cotton ball there for 5 minutes." He was back in his chair. Caleb's glass was still on the table, but Caleb was gone. It had all been a momentary lapse. Dr. Evan was packing the collected blood, which looked to be less than 200 milliliters, into a small cooler. Noah pressed the cotton to his arm, dazed. "Is it over?" he asked. "Where's Mr. Thorne? Was that enough?" Dr. Evan explained that the master had things to do and that the dosage was within the acceptable range. Noah's mind was still fuzzy. He said he thought he had blacked out for a minute or two. Dr. Evan confirmed it, checking his eyes and explaining that his low blood sugar from skipping breakfast, combined with the blood loss, had nearly made him faint. He said he would write up a nutritional plan for the next month. After a short rest and some sugar water, Noah felt better, though he was desperately hungry. The whole procedure had been so simple, so brief, it seemed insignificant compared to the large sum of money he was receiving. It gave him a sense of moral confusion. Something he had struggled so hard for was obtained here through a simple exchange. He slept for the rest of the day, his sleep filled with bizarre dreams related to his blackout. That evening, Caleb did not come down for dinner. Noah assumed that since they had now met, Caleb felt no need to exert himself. After seeing him, Noah couldn't shake the feeling that despite his height, a strong gust of wind could blow him over. After dinner, a servant brought him a bowl of ice cream. Connors explained that the master had ordered it for him specially, saying that a child his age would enjoy it and that it might lift his spirits. Noah was taken aback. He didn't understand why someone so young would call him a child. But he had been craving ice cream lately. He spent the next day wandering the house and grounds, phone held high, searching for a signal. He climbed on furniture, stood on the windowsill, all to no avail. The exclamation point remained. Connors kindly suggested he try the lakeshore but warned him to be careful. After 2 hours of digital deprivation, Noah gave in and walked through the woods toward the lake, leaving a trail of deep footprints in the snow. From a high window, Caleb watched him go. A sliver of light from a gap in the curtains fell just short of his feet. Dr. Evan was there. He commented on what a good kid Noah was. So polite, like a little puppy, and how surprising it was to see the tattoo on his arm, a memorial for his mother. Caleb's eyes reflected the snow outside. He stated quietly that there was another one, on the back of his right earlobe. Dr. Evan was surprised. The small figure in the woods stumbled but quickly got up and continued on. Caleb closed the curtain, plunging the room back into darkness. He remarked that it was a small heart. Dr. Evan's professional demeanor returned. He warned Caleb that what he was doing might not be in the boy's best interest. Caleb ignored him, asking if the time was near. Dr. Evan checked his watch. About an hour. How are you feeling? Caleb replied that he felt nothing in particular. Dr. Evan mentioned that the next meeting was in April and that Noah would be back in a month. He suggested they consider having him stay on the island. Caleb's expression was unreadable as he said it hadn't reached that point yet. Noah found no signal at the lake. He briefly wondered if only Caleb's room had internet access, but dismissed the idea. He was deeply disappointed. The lake, however, was beautiful. The memory of almost falling in was still unnerving, but the scenery was flawless. He went back for his guitar and sat on the snowy pier. His hand had healed enough to play. He practiced the melody from the bus, the isolation and the stunning view making it an effortless, peaceful task. He didn't see Caleb Thorne again before he left. On Monday morning, before dawn, he was up and packed. Connors drove him to the pier. A light snow was falling. The white ferry was a ghostly shape in the dim morning light. Hank was waiting on deck. Before boarding, Noah pulled the headphone case from his pocket. He told Connors he wouldn't need them anymore and asked him to thank Mr. Thorne. Connors smiled and said that what the master gives is his to keep. Noah didn't want it, but Connors insisted, telling him to consider it a small token of thanks for his next visit. The sea was calm this time. The other boy was not on board. When Noah asked, Hank told him curtly that he wouldn't be seeing him again. The ferry reached the mainland without incident. Hank told him to be on time next month. Noah waved goodbye, a gesture Hank seemed unaccustomed to, returning it belatedly before disappearing into the cabin. Back on land, he waited half an hour for a bus that never came, so he started walking. A few hundred yards down the road, his phone rang. It was his friend, Sam. He asked Noah to meet him for beers after his shift the next evening. He then apologized for forgetting to call over the weekend, his voice full of regret. Noah told him it was fine. He had been on Blackwood Isle, where the signal was bad. The pressing need to talk to Sam had vanished. He felt like he had grown up. After they hung up, the bus finally appeared through the morning fog. Noah got on and found a seat by the window, the mundane chatter of the other passengers a strange and welcome sound. He felt like he was back in the real world. That night, he had a terrible dream. He woke up drenched in sweat, his heart pounding. In the dream, he was in the small boat on the blue lake with Caleb. Moonlight bathed them. No betrayal, no running, no fear, he had sobbed, promising over and over. Caleb's voice was a low murmur in his ear. "Give yourself to me." The scene shifted to the room. Caleb sat in the armchair, his glass empty, his lips stained red. "You may rise," he said, his voice cold as charity. Noah buried his face in his pillow, his cheeks burning with shame. He had truly lost his mind. The next day, a courier delivered a dozen large boxes to his apartment. He hadn't ordered anything, but his name was clearly on the shipping label. The boxes were filled with food vacuum-sealed produce, fresh meat, and various nutritional supplements. At the bottom of one box, he found a printed-out diet plan, detailing his meals for the next 2 weeks, signed by Dr. Evan. He remembered the doctor mentioning it, but he hadn't expected them to send the supplies as well. He had no way to contact the doctor, only an email address for the island's administration. He sent a message thanking them but explaining he could manage his own meals. A reply came back within a minute. "You're welcome. This is Mr. Thorne."